And now we come to the sixth commandment. And I wonder how Moses heard these words when God said, "You shall not kill." I wonder if he looked down at his feet in shame, remembering 40 years earlier when he killed the Egyptian taskmaster, how he lived as a fugitive in Sinai for 40 years because of that crime. I wonder if he felt guilty at that moment. Now, the command to not murder has far-reaching consequences, or not kill has far-reaching consequences, but I thought we might start by visiting once more with Rabbi Art Nemitov. Let's take a listen. So let's take a look at do not kill, which seems pretty straightforward, although do not kill is it's not referring to animals because we're allowed to eat. It's not referring to war because war is at times commanded in Scripture. It's not referred to capital punishment because you find capital punishment in the Torah. So when it's speaking about do not kill, what is the commandment saying?
I would suggest that the English that we're using may be inappropriate or inaccurate. I would rather use do not murder.
Yeah.
Murder is prohibited. Killing is permitted under certain circumstances.
Right.
When we murder another human being, we are murdering God's image. And so we are, in fact, murdering God. And when you look at the Ten Commandments, you have 5 here and 5 here. In Jewish tradition, the first one, which is I am God, matches the 6th one, which is do not murder. And that's why they're parallel, because we are creating God's image. We have God's soul within us. And if we destroy that, it's as though we're destroying God.
Yes, good. What does that, given that most of your members are not inclined to murder someone else?
I hope not.
Yes. So what might this commandment mean for people who are not inclined to murder someone else? Is there any additional meaning, or is it simply the prohibition against this?
I think it's a statement about the value of life, that each human being is creating God's image, and that when we harm another person, it's as though we're harming God. Yeah. So I don't think it's just about murder, but it uses that as the extreme example.
Right. Jesus, when he spoke about this, talked about how you've heard that it was said of old, you shall not murder, but then he talks about not hating, and he talks about loving your enemy and turning the other cheek, and all of these things are sort of bound up in this not doing harm, but instead practicing love towards the other. So for Jesus, the command not to murder wasn't just about not killing people. I'm not worried that any of you watching this video are tempted to kill other human beings, but I'm pretty certain that all of us have had the tendency to use words in a way that bring harm to other people. We learned as children, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me. But we all know that's not true. And how easy it is for us to gossip about someone else, or to speak about somebody in a way that's not true, to pass on rumors, or today to offer harmful words by using not just our lips, but our cell phones as we're typing into social media platforms, talking on Facebook or Twitter, or even the emojis that we use are all ways of either blessing or harming other people. And I want to encourage you to think about how are we in danger of harming other people with our words as you study this commandment. But I want to move beyond that to recognize that this commandment is not just about not killing or harming other people. Jesus flips it once more. And the positive side of this was you shall love your neighbors, you love yourself. You shall love even your enemies. That love wasn't a warm, fuzzy feeling. It was a way of blessing and doing good to others. And in the process of doing that, we find the good and beautiful life. So I want to encourage you to take the time to ponder, what does that look like today? And I want to end by taking you to another archaeological site in Egypt just to show you some of what you'd see there. So let's head to Egypt. So when you're in Luxor, one of the places you want to visit is the Luxor Temple by night. One of the important things to know about the city of Luxor, of course it was the ancient city of Thebes, is that it was here that the royal family would have been educated. So they would have been educated in philosophy, they would have been educated in law, in religion, all of these things they would have learned here in this city. So there's no question, if Moses was raised as a prince in Pharaoh's household, he would have come here to be educated. He would have seen these temples. Now, what you see here was built during the time of Moses. So during his lifetime, if we date Moses to the Exodus to 1290, this was built during Moses' lifetime. Inside this temple, we find portions that were built before the time of Moses. But when you come here, you get a chance to see, especially in the statues that are in the front, all of this built during the period of Ramses II. And if Ramses II is the pharaoh of the Exodus, then what you see is his, let's just call it what it is, an outsized ego. You're going to find statues of Ramses all over Egypt. These are, I mean, we're talking statues of a man who was Pharaoh 3,300 years ago, and yet when you come here, you find he wanted to make sure people remembered him. They knew who he was. And that stands in stark contrast to Moses, where in Scripture we read that Moses was the most humble man who lived, and Ramses II appears to be a man with an oversized ego, with an outsized ego. So as we go inside, we're going to have a chance to see what this temple looked like, and I want you just to be able to take it in. It's one of the sights that you see at night when you come to Luxor because of its beauty in the evening. So let's go inside. So we're getting ready to go into the Holy of Holies here in the Temple in Luxor. So this represents the throne room of Amun-Ra. It represents the holiest place in the temple. And the same idea, again, carries through in the temple in Jerusalem when it was built much later. And in the tent of meeting that Moses builds, the tabernacle, the portable sanctuary. So the ideas, the way it's set up, are very similar. Comes and drawn from the temples like this one. So let's go inside the Holy of Holies. Let's see what it's like. From here, we go on to explore other sites here in Egypt as we continue to contemplate the significance of the Ten Commandments. Let's go.